Hello friends, I am B B Arjun and today we shall talk about formal and informal types of communication. After watching this video, you will be aware of the types of formal communication and informal communication. Then you will be able to use formal communication in formal situations. So let us move ahead. Here is a chart showing the types of communication. There are three criteria on the basis of which we have subtypes of communication. So the first one, expression. On the basis of expression, we have formal communication and informal communication. On the basis of mode, we have verbal communication and non-verbal communication. In turn, verbal communication is further divided into oral communication and written communication. Oral communication can also be further classified as face to face communication and non face to face communication. We have one more criteria, that is direction. So, on the basis of direction, we have three types. The first one being vertical communication. We have two subtypes of vertical communication. The first one is upward communication, and the second one is downward communication. The second type of communication on the basis of direction is horizontal communication, and the third one is diagonal communication. So, friends, we shall see now the first type, formal communication. Um, this communication can be both internal or external. It means that we use formal communication in an organization, or we use it to communicate with the people who are outside our organization. So this can be internal and external. This can be both written and oral. For example, letters, inquiries, reports are the some of the examples of written communication. There are few more like minutes and the notices and the mails and so on. In oral communication, we have speeches delivered, especially on the occasion of meetings and seminars and workshops and conferences, etc. Importantly, this type of communication is bound by certain rules, norms, and regulations. It always adhere to these rules and norms. Um, it is always a well planned activity of communication. One more striking feature of this communication is it is time bound. When we work in a formal setup, we have to pay attention to the use of time, the manipulation of time. We have to follow deadlines, we have to follow the time of appointments, we have to brief in the given time only. So, these are a few of the examples of time when we operate in a formal setup. Um, then this communication is topic bound. Actually, every communication event in a formal setup is undertaken with certain objective or objectives behind it. So it's essentially a purposeful activity. So topic is there. We cannot go on communicating without topic. Then again, very important feature of this communication is it is language bound. We have to use courteous language there. We have to pay attention to the choice of words. Let it be spoken communication or written communication. We need to take care of the use of words and the expressions, etc. We cannot use slangs or jargons or colloquial expressions in this type of communication. We have to use appropriate body language cues while we operate in a formal setup, formal communication event. For example, when we are in meetings or seminars or workshops, conferences, there we have to show appropriate body language cues. So, friends, this was all about formal communication. Now we shall turn to the informal one. Here, informal communication is simply opposite to the formal communication. This communication is also known with other names, like one very popular one is the grapevine communication. It is also known with the names like stripe, gossip, heresy, rumor. This communication is also found in internal and external setups. So, this was well discussed during the last time. Then informal communication always go hand in hand with formal communication. Unless and until there is some formal outbreak of news, some formal development, there won't be any informal communication, or there is very little scope for informal communication then. So this usually takes place when the colleagues get a little leisure time or a spare time, especially during lunch breaks or tea breaks, some get-togethers and parties, and um, some recent development or controversies are always being talked on. So the discussion takes place. Sometimes people also share their own problems. Some private discussions are also taking place. Uh, this communication is not time bound. Now this goes simply opposite to the formal type. Informal communication, we have to be very punctual as far as the use of time is concerned. But in case of informal communication, there is no such a bound. So you have the liberty to use your time in your own way. Then again, this communication is not topic bound. We can talk on any topic under the sun. Like many times we have diversions. So we talk on entertainment, then cricket, fashion, health, and studies, and Bollywood, and food, and friends, and so many things under the sun. Here, we do not have restrictions as far as use of language is concerned. We use slangs, we use colloquial expressions, we use informal expressions when we are in the company of our friends. So this liberty is always taken in case of informal communication. This communication has got no legal standing. It is not being documented as formal communication is documented. So this is not documented. So therefore, no legal standing. Um, this communication sometimes has got some facts, sometimes it is fictional. So there is no stint of fact even sometimes. Uh, so it can be both factual or fictional. Uh, now, there are few certain benefits of this informal communication, and one of the important benefits is that it helps to improve the relationship between employer and employee. It also enhances the work culture in a organization. Then the silent features of this informal communication. The first and foremost feature is it spreads like a wildfire. And we know when such a wildfire spreads, we cannot control it. So same thing happens if some news is running across, then we it is simply unstoppable and we cannot control it. So this is something very devastating in case a devastating effect in case of this informal communication. It grows rapidly in many directions, and sometimes we cannot control it. So this is very devastating. Then Sometimes it acts as an outlet to frustration and disappointment of the employees. So this may happen sometimes. Um, Sometimes it is acceptable and it can provide a correct feedback to the management, but it has to be analyzed very carefully. Then it also helps us to improve the relationship between employer and employee if we use it carefully. Then we have some negative points or some drawbacks of this informal communication. It is harmful if not used carefully. So it may spoil the discipline in your organization, or sometimes it may spoil the image of a person or a group or a company. As we said earlier, that sometimes it has got facts or sometimes it is fictional. So many times some false or incorrect news are spread. Some mischievous people or some mischievous element might be behind that, but we have to confront it and we have to be very keen uh, about the gossip and the informal communication that is being taken around. So, friends, this was all about the formal communication and informal communication. So, from my end, I would like to stop. So, for the time being, thank you. Happy learning.